I ask you all to take a beat to anchor yourself. What that looks like for me is taking a deep breath, bringing myself to present, touching your body or something around you to ensure that you're here with me. Also, the slide can be an anchor for you. Take time to read it as I set up this altar. Chauncey Knight, Craig Washington, James Baldwin, Liverlane McDuffie, Mary Frances Starr Luster. Did you know a function is defined as a relation between a set of inputs having one output? In regular speak, that sounds like to me, what you do directly impacts the outcome. For marginalized folks, that is not always the case. Marginalized, having a marginal social or political status relegated to an unimportant or powerless position within a society or group. I am so sick of this word, marginalized. Why is it that my existence is associated with anything as pertaining to unimportant? This is ridiculous that I even must think of this shit. You question my existence because I am a Black, queer, masculine presenting, non-binary person with they, them pronouns that experiences nuances of Black womanhood. And because of your distorted perception, you lack the ability to see me, a person. When I was a child, I was called a racial slur at school. And once my parents were notified, they engaged with the principal to figure out why this was happening and what was going on. I was in elementary school, and already I was being put in buckets by my peers. That moment was intended to make me feel unimportant and powerless, but instead, I remember that situation for a completely different reason. My parents. They were there to address the ignorance that took place, and it reminded me in real time that this is a lesson and a reminder all in one, that in fact, I am important and ignorance is worth addressing. How wild that I had this experience before I was even 10 years old. It's been etched into my brain as a core memory. It was a transformational moment. I learned that some people will value me and others simply won't. And it's intended that I am the one to carry the hatred associated with this bigotry. It took many years of vomiting all the filth I had been taught about myself and half believed before I was able to walk the earth as though I had a right to be here. James Baldwin. Have you ever had a connection with a person that was so intense you question how you haven't known them longer than you already have? That feeling has always given me butterflies in my belly. A feeling I am so curious about when it creeps into my body, and whether I'm experiencing it or have the opportunity to witness it. Friendship. A person whom one knows and with whom one has a bond of mutual affection. Friendship has always been such a special type of love for me. To know me is to know. It's always about the small things. Friendship is a love story of the little things. Between you and a person that reminds you you are more than any one role or responsibility. It is a pleasure and a choice to simply share space with you. In girlhood, I had a window seat to witness friendship on such an intimate level between my mother and her sisters. I had the ability and was captivated by their different personalities and dispositions. Their dynamics encouraged a sense of observation and curiosity inside of me. Seeing them explore themselves willingly in the midst of life, challenges, and accomplishments allows me to see that if you are willing to be open, it starts from within. The work of questioning yourself evolving through based on the information you've learned, experiences you had, and working to align those with your most authentic self. Being in community with someone is not about agreeing or disagreeing with that individual all the time, but an opportunity to engage in relation that allows you to be a witness to one another's lives. The relationship can and will ebb and flow, but you can work to be rooted in the connection that you all hold close to your heart for one another. This is being community-centered. We can disagree and still love each other unless your disagreement is rooted in my oppression, denial of my humanity, and right to exist. James Baldwin. Have you ever been in a circumstance that pushed you so much out of your comfort zone that you never would have thought this could have happened? This circumstance knocked the wind out of your body? Mother. To bring up a child with care and affection. Invisible load, the mental and emotional labor that goes into running a household or caring for others, but goes unrecognized. How do I navigate this? I cannot go another step. How did my world change so quickly? The invisible load of motherhood is like nothing I have ever experienced. Motherhood, the way I walk my path through it, is a lot of self-work. Work I was convinced was for my daughter, but have learned and am continuously reminded is for me and benefits her. Mothering through different seasons of my life has been one of the most nuanced experiences I have ever had. Have you ever watched someone in your community navigate motherhood? Not just hear their experiences, but really reflect and look at the navigation of their day-to-day? It's impressive. Not because people who experience motherhood have superpowers, but because outside of that role, there is a person. And this directly impacts the way that they mother and show up for their child or children. This perception has challenged me to prioritize myself throughout raising and nurturing the person my daughter is and will become. My daughter gives me the audacity to fully show up as myself, because who else will? I never thought that spending 40 hours a week somewhere would be a way for people to define who I am as a person, especially considering people who look like me don't bring their full selves to work. Professionalism, the competence or skill expected of a professional. Can we notice that this definition does not include the color of my skin, my sexuality, or my religious beliefs, but focuses on the ability of a person to be competent in the skill set and role that is expected of them? Interesting, I'd say. My professional experience has always been centered around community-oriented work, or what I like to call people engaging with people. And let me tell you, it has been depleting. Not because of the communities that I have aided and showed up for. Why, you may ask? Because the people who take up space and hold power do not reflect the community or intend to even engage with the community. This splintering highlights how most systems are not built for people like me or myself. That includes the professional setting. Continuously being invalidated, ostracized, questioned, though they were the people who hired me to be the expert in their organization. Do you know how infuriating it is to have the perception of your existence questioned by people who never intended to know you or someone like you? The place in which I'll fit will not exist until I make it. James Baldwin. Have you given yourself full permission to lean in, to believe yourself, to trust yourself? I know it's hard, even when you don't care what people think. I always wonder why that is. And I've come to realize, for me, it is because of one particular question. What if I continuously question, evolve, and relearn, and lose or won't have my community? Romance, a feeling of excitement and mystery associated with love. Who knew that being in love with romance would shift my community so drastically? That's where my queerness comes in. I used to work deeply to hide who I was and am because I was so exhausted with being othered, simply for being myself. The feeling of being othered will have you questioning the feelings pulsating through your own body. This is because society, peers, and your elders show and tell you what life should look like, how life should unfold for you. You're told life must be a certain way, but who says? I have and will continue to work on not allowing other people's opinions to distort my clarity. As I close out my time with you, I ask, how can the ripples of being your most authentic self benefit those around you? My name is AZ, and I am solely me.